Thank you, everybody, to get on the call tonight about COVID-19. And today we're talking about small businesses and the effect of it and what programs are out there for small businesses. Right now, we have a great host on the call tonight, Theodis Watson. He's Assistant Vice President of the Central Bank of the Midwest, the Regional Vice President of Urban Financial Services Coalition. He's been in banking now for over 18 years. And he's working vastly on these SBA programs. So I just want to say, Theo, thanks again for getting on this webinar tonight.
Thank you, Jason. I do appreciate the opportunity to speak on this. This is definitely an important matter, and a lot of our business owners are in need. And any banker who is involved, I congratulate you and continue to help these businesses get through this process. But Jason, I appreciate you putting this out. Definitely appreciate you sharing the information and doing what you're doing, because a lot of the information that's being presented on not only this call but others is something that we need as a community, and absolutely for our legacies that we're trying to leave for our families. So thank you, Jason. Before I get started, I just wanted to, as you said, I appreciate you introducing myself and get a little bit about Urban Financial Services. I do serve on as a Western Region Vice President. And Urban Financial Services, if you have not heard or know about it, it was formerly known as the National Association of Urban Bankers, which is a nonprofit organization of minority professionals in the professional services industry and related fields. The affiliation with UFSC offers a unique opportunity to influence and shape the banking and financial service industry. And our goals is to really operate as a professional trade association, really promote growth amongst our members, and also serve the economic development of underserved communities. So we do a lot. If you have not heard, please visit www.ufscnet.com for our national website. And we have a number of chapters, such as the San Francisco that Jason serves on. And I'm with the Kansas City chapter. And if you are in Seattle, if you are in Nebraska, Baltimore, New York, we have a couple chapters we have one in Omaha. And we are very pleased to have Ola Truelove, who is our national president. Just say hello, Ola. Don't take the spotlight. This is my time. But I want you to say hello and say hello to the people.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Ola Truelove, and Theodis, thank you for giving me the opportunity just to say hello as your national president of Urban Financial Services Coalition. You all be safe.
Thank you. Thank you. But, yes, Jason charged me to talk about this Paycheck Protection Program through the SBA. Many people may have heard it as the PPP program. And basically what this is the U.S. government going through the U.S. Treasury authorized $349 billion. I don't know why they left out that other $1 billion, but in forgivable loans to small businesses to pay their employees during this horrid crisis, COVID-19. And regardless of what your credit status is, the amount of money that you make as a business, everyone's terms are the same. The loan proceeds are basically for payroll costs, mortgage interest or lease that you're paying on your current business, rent, and utility costs over the next 8 weeks period after the loan is made. And also it helps with employee compensation and levels that are maintained. So the goal of this program is to keep individuals working, and the goal is to continue to pay employees as we are dealing with this crisis. People ask, when can you apply? The program actually started on April 3rd, and small businesses and sole proprietorships can apply and receive loans to cover those requests, which is the payroll and certain expenses. And also as of April 10th, which is past Friday, independent contractors and self-employed individuals are able to apply now. And so this is such an important opportunity for businesses. Jason and I spoke earlier, it's so important to have a relationship with your bank, even if it's just have a deposit or a loan. But this times like this is very busy for us in the banking industry. And honestly, just looking at my emails now, I got about 350 emails. So I'm still going through them and responding. Every day it fills up. But I do have those clients who call me personally, text me personally, and say, hey, Theodis, I know you're working. Here's my information. I'm going to email you now. Jump on it. And I can jump in and take care of that. So especially during these times, you really want to make sure you have a good relationship with your banker, because we are working feverishly to get this done. However, having a relationship with your banker is very important so they can kind of work with you. Jason, I don't know if you had any questions, but I can continue to move forward.
Yeah. So let me ask you, you definitely, what happens if you have a relationship with your banker, but they're at Chase, where Chase says, hey, we're not doing the PPP program unless you have a lending relationship, but not a deposit relationship. What should you do, or what do you advise on that?
That's a great question. And that is such a difficult challenge that a lot of businesses are facing, because, there's a lot of reasons why I think that's wrong. But just because you have a deposit relationship and not a lending relationship, that should not count you out for getting access to capital when you deserve it. And so what I would encourage banks or small businesses to do, and we've been able to help some that don't bank with us, to be able to come in and just continue to have your paperwork, ask what the requirements from the bank, and I can talk a little bit about that, what they need, and just simply ask, are they accepting non-customers? There are a lot of banks that are looking to help businesses, because we understand that's not their problem of why they're going through this situation. And I'm fortunate enough to work for an organization who stepped up and is willing to take on some of those small businesses. And honestly, for those banks who's like Chase, I mean, unfortunately, there are one of the big banks, but there are banks out there who are willing to take on and build new relationships. And if that bank take you on, you should highly consider moving on with that relationship to this new bank is going to take you, specifically when this is time in need.
Okay, definitely. What would you consider a small business? Because when we hear the number of small business, we think it's, it's so broad. But what are we considering those small business right now?
Well, for this program to qualify, you have to have at least 500 or fewer employees. So many of the people we deal with or work with qualify for that program. But in regards to the SBA small business requirements, and to also qualify for a number of their programs, you have to have at least 500 employees or less.
Okay. And what can businesses do to prepare themselves when they go to the bank and ask for this program?
Correct. So what typically there's an application, and you can find this on the SBA website, or you can find this on the U.S. Treasury link website for small business. And I'm going to take a step back. The U.S. Treasury is the one who is deploying this capital, but the SBA is kind of the machine behind facilitating the program, because they already have a small business program in place. So they are kind of the ones who are deploying the capital, but the U.S. Treasury is the one who are holding on and actually is managing the program. So to answer your question, you can go to the SBA.gov website to find this information, or the U.S. Treasury. But there is an application called the Payment Protection Program application, and it's a Form 2483. Typically, you complete that application. On there, it will ask, obviously, your business name, business EIN number, but they'll also ask what your monthly average payroll cost is. And what that does is it helps the bank figure out what your average 12-month of 2019, we're looking at a 2019 term, and what we do is we times that by 2.5, which helps that cover that utilities and the rent and lease and other payments that you may have. So bring in your application, where you can find online, bring in your 2019 year-end balance statement, which could be a profit and loss statement, and or if you have your 2019 tax returns, that should be obviously fine. If you don't have either or, your 2018 tax returns should be available and should be sufficient as well. And since this is a payroll, loan, and banks will need to verify and certify the amount that you're putting on the application as what you qualify for, please bring in your supporting documents, which means for any corporation, your W-2s, your 941s, which will that business report on a quarterly basis, and that really kind of helps banks find what they need. So I encourage people to have your package together and have your application, your financials, and then have your 941s or 940s, and W-2s and W-3s, whatever you use, have those ready, because banks are more willing to help a borrower, obviously, who is prepared, rather than those who may not be.
Oh, you have a question?
Well, yeah, I raised my hand, Theodis, because I wondered when you said bring in this environment that we're in today, the social distancing, do we have lenders that are actually accepting applications live, or are we sending this information online to the respective person?
Absolutely. Great question. And I'm so old school, so I appreciate that. Yes, a lot of organizations you can apply online and send it in. And sometimes you want to make sure you call and confirm exactly what they need, but a lot of these things are what banks are wanting. But absolutely, you can apply online and send that through a portal. And to your point, a lot of these closings that we're doing for these loans are through DocuSign. So we will not need wet signatures. A lot of, since it is an unsecured loan, we can do a lot of that via online or through the DocuSign process. So thank you for clarifying that.
Oh, I wasn't trying to clarify, just wanting to make sure that we, Central Bank of the Midwest, also we were practicing social distancing and wanted you to just share what the people could actually do instead of having those face-to-face meetings like we would have 4 months ago.
Right.
So thank you very much for clarifying that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great question.
And then, Theodis, when can somebody expect that money to be in their pocket from filling out the application? Let's say they do have everything in order. When do you think most small businesses will actually have the funding?
Great question. So basically what typically a timeline is, by the time you submit your application, you have everything, try to have everything as much as possible. That would delay any type of bottlenecks in your process. And usually we say within 3 to 5 business days. What the process looks like is banker A have your file. We run it through an SBA's portal called eTran that allows us to put your information in and be able to authorize those dollars for your business. So once it goes in that portal, typically that money is allocated for your business. Then immediately after that, normally the banker will call, hey, ABC company, your loan has been authorized and approved, and we'll follow up with you on a date to close. The SBA is requiring banks to deploy that capital within 10 business days of that borrower receiving that authorization number. So literally when they call you to say, Mr. Jason Matthews, your loan has been approved and authorized, the clock is ticking for the banks to get your loan documents, and they have to have that deployed within 10 business days.
Okay. Now,
so that deployed, I'm sorry, Jason. So having that deployed in 10 business days, everything has been approved. ABC company knows that they have qualified to receive this PPP payment. And then within the 10 business days, the financial institution will ACH those funds into their account?
So it really kind of depends on what that process may be. A lot of banks are doing ACH. If you don't have a bank account, as Jason alluded to, where some businesses may not have that, Sometimes they do issue cashier's checks. I've heard of banks doing that.
Okay.
Like many banks, like our bank, they're working directly through the drive-through. So we're scheduling that time for borrowers to come through and pick up that check if we need to. And or I heard banks like Central Bank is setting up a separate account specifically for this program. And what we mean by that is it's very important for small businesses to be able to track their expenses for this 8 weeks. And so what we're doing here is, and a lot of banks I'm hearing are doing this as well, are putting, open up a separate account, allowing the borrower, putting these funds in the account. It helps and show proof of what they've spent within this 8 weeks so they can get a portion of those funds forgiven, which what this loan is designed to do.
Okay. Now, what's the difference between this and the EIDL loan or any other programs that are out there? Or can you talk about a little bit about other programs that are out there?
Absolutely. So the Paycheck Protection Program covers obviously the payroll costs. It's exclusive to payroll costs, interest, mortgage, rent, utilities, and those sorts. And also there's that forgiveness option. And so the PPP loan, basically what that does is required or designed for businesses to spend all this money within the 8 weeks. 75% of that money should be forgiven as long as you've done what you've done, meaning spending it on salaries, payrolls, and those sorts.
You say 75% is forgiven, not 100%?
No, 75% is forgiven. And that's another piece that people are missing because it's not all forgiven. So I really try to encourage our borrowers to, take out what you need because you will be responsible to pay back a portion of that loan. And so that's the difference between the EIDL, and I'll go into that. But another piece of that is different is the interest rate. So interest rates on this PPP loan is 1%. Yes, I said 1%, and it's based on a 24-month note, and the first 6 months is in deferment. So, which means borrowers, they take out the loan today, they don't have to make another payment for 6 months, and then the 7th month through the rest of the remainder of the term, 18 months, it is based off a 1% note. The Emergency Injury Disaster Loan Program that you were speaking of is a loan through the SBA, and that is done not through your bank. It is through the SBA loan program. And you can apply online, and that is all done online, to Ola's point. And you do not speak to anyone until you fill out your application. So Jason Matthews goes online, goes to the SBA website, sba.gov. You sign up for your business, you put in this information, and you don't tell the SBA what you qualify for or what you want. They pretty much tell you how much you're going to qualify for based off the data that you put into the program. However, what they would do is provide you with a $10,000 immediate credit if you so choose to accept that. You get a $10,000 immediate credit, and in the next, they say 2 or 3 days, they'll get back with you. My experience has been about a week and a half. They'll follow back up with you with some additional questions and identify if there's additional funding for you through that program. The difference between that is a 3.75 interest rate loan based on a 30-year term. And so the goal of that is to kind of get capital in the hands of businesses as soon as possible. This was a program that was initiated early on in the stages to kind of get people going before this PPP was rolled out. But again, it's a slow term rate, and it's for a 30-year term, so you should have no challenges, for a lot of businesses to be able to pay that off fairly quickly. If you're a nonprofit, you can qualify for that EIDL loan. The interest rate is slightly better. It is 2.75% based on a 30-year note. And so, again, they have the ability to apply for that loan as well.
Thank you. Ola, you have a question?
Well, I did raise my hand because I know I'm going to just back up a little bit, Theodis. You
Absolutely.
were talking about the payroll protection plan, but you
Yes.
also said that with this loan, small businesses, nonprofits, churches, and organizations like that, they can also pay their expenses such as utility bills
Correct.
with this PPP plan, and
Correct.
hopefully most of that will be forgiven.
Correct.
So that they'll take care of their employees' payroll checks. They'll also pay their utility bills, gas, electric, water, and any other types of bills covered under that plan.
It's mainly for utilities, rent, lease, and interest, mortgage, other
Oh,
obligations.
so the mortgage too would fall up under that
Absolutely.
PPP plan.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great.
And the one of the one of the qualifications for that program, we're talking about the PPP program here. You have to be in business by February 15th. So you can't just start a business after this and try to get this type of funding. You have to be in business by February 15th, when they kind of coded the various states, really the country, as a national disaster. So that's kind of why they rolled that out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good question.
This with this money, I know it's supposed to be last a couple people 2.5 months. But I listened to the head of the Minneapolis Federal Reserve, and he thinks that we could be in this for 18 months. With small business like that, and let's say, and there's estimated there are going to be 24 million small businesses that are going to fail and go bankrupt during this time. If they have one of these loans and they go default, what would happen to that business entity or the owners of that business?
Good question. So they will be dealing with it's 100% guaranteed payments through the government, and it's guaranteed through the Federal Reserve or federal government. And that's a good question, and I think that's going to be a challenge for a lot of businesses who may take on this loan. But the hopes is obviously we're back in some type of normalcy, and they will be able to pay that off. But on the flip end, if unfortunately worst case scenario, it is an SBA loan, and so you will be dealing with the government, in which they could possibly start garnishing wages, tax, your tax returns, all of that, all of the above, because you will be pretty much personally guaranteeing this note. So you are responsible for that. That is one of the risks behind this program and taking out the loans. But to my knowledge and my experience with the SBA, they will work with small businesses to try to, help them. The positive thing about this is there's no collateral. So you don't have to put your house up. You don't have to put your car up or your firstborn. That's the positive thing. So to my knowledge, I think they're anticipating some of that. They haven't spoke much about what they're going to do, but I do know in my previous experiences, it will be more of a garnishment situation because of the authorized signer is kind of taking on that risk that they will, or the business will, pay back this note.
Okay.
So Theodis, Jason, could I ask another question?
Go ahead.
So Theodis, understanding that this PPP small business loan is not 100% guaranteed fund, that it's, you said 75%, if I heard you correctly.
Correct.
That the government would pay, and then company ABC would be responsible for the 25%. So
Correct.
are you saying to me that that there are no companies that will be, I guess, insured the 100% for taking advantage of this PPP plan as it stands today?
No company, because how they're coming up with their maximum loan amount is they're taking that average payroll salary for that 12
Uh-huh.
months, and they're multiplying that by 2.5. And that 2.5 is basically supposed to be for these utilities, rent, mortgage, whatever, to kind of give you that extra capital to do those things. And so basically when you bring your documentation confirming that you paid off, X amount of dollars, what the government or what the banks are going to do and submit to the SBA and say, okay, borrower A, this monthly average 12-month, this is what they paid within these last 2 weeks. And then there are these previous 8 weeks. Then after that gets forgiven. The remaining balance will be on an 18-month note. So no, not 100% of that will be forgiven, because it's structured to be able to give individuals additional capital to function with their business and utilize that monthly, or utilizing that average monthly balance is what you calculated on your payroll, in which we confirmed. So no loans, to your point, will be 100% given at this point.
Okay, and that's just for this period right now, this couple of month period that we're going through this pandemic.
Correct.
That's why. So the 2.5 times is 2.5 times their payroll that they have qualified for, which
Correct.
would include the utilities and other expenses that they may have. Okay.
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure that I'm understanding that correctly, because
Yeah.
I am being asked those same questions on
Absolutely.
a regular basis, and I'm not in the lending line of business, but I want to make sure that I will be responding correctly. Thank you very much.
No, absolutely. And that's what we're hearing a lot, Jason and Ola and everyone involved, is this is a grant and everybody's getting it and it's free and it's forgiven. No, don't fall into that trap.
That's what I thought. I'm ready to sit to give me some free money. I was going to make that first. It was on Friday. I was at my bank on Monday, saying open, like an old school Mervis commercial. And they're like, we're not ready for you, sir. I don't have free money for you today, sir. So
that's why I brought that up, Jason, because I knew it was people like you that was going to be running down there trying to get some money for free. It just doesn't work like that. There's nothing free in this world. I mean,
no, as much as we want to give it out, we got. Yeah, they're gonna make a little money. It's real cheap money though. It is free. It's cheap.
Yeah,
money, I tell you.
Yeah.
But,
well, it's helping these small
businesses.
It's helping these small businesses get through this time that is so difficult right now with them, their businesses being closed and their employees that they do have there not working. They want to keep as many people working as they can. So,
Absolutely.
I know Jason made a little light of that, and thank you for bringing the humor in that, Jason, but you're absolutely right. People think, oh, I'm just going to go get this money. I'm not going to pay it back because the government's going to pay it. But again, we need to be making sure as financial services organization that we are sharing information that is accurate. And I know things are changing several times throughout the day, Theodis. I'm getting information from the ABA constantly about what's going on with the SBA. So thank you for clarifying that as well.
No problem. Thank you. Great questions.
Now, can people do both the disaster relief loan and the PPP program? Can they apply for both, or how does that work?
Yeah, they can apply for both. There is a section on the PPP application asking if you took out an EIDL loan, and if you did, they will add that over to that balance, because the goal is to be able to pay off that EIDL loan if you did. So there might be an option to be able to do that and pay that off at a lower rate other than the 3.75 of what you would have gotten on the EIDL. But there's clients that really didn't mess with the SBA loan just because, they want to they're fine. They don't need additional debt, but they can take advantage of this PPP program because they have employees. And if they can get a percentage of that forgiven while hiring employees, absolutely. And I know businesses who they said, hey, after this is done, I don't know what may happen. I might have to reach out to that EIDL loan here in a couple of weeks, and that is fine. The SBA has not discouraged individuals to applying for either one. It's something that's available, and taxpayers have been paying money into it, so you should take advantage if you need to.
And I heard something about a bridge loan. Do you know anything about that? That's supposed to carry you to get the PPP loan or the EIDL. I heard some type of bridge loan regarding that as well. Can you elaborate?
There are some SBA bridge loans out there for this due to the COVID virus situation. That they're very similar to our express loans, which is a package of the SBA loan, another form of loan. It goes up to 25,000, and it's based off of prime. But again, those rates are not as favorable as these three, and that product is not as popular, obviously. But there is a $25,000 bridge loan, SBA loan. There are some fees involved. You have to pay the traditional SBA fees and things like that. But again, it is there for businesses who want to take advantage of it. But it's just not as popular, and it's 25,000. And some people really rather they go through the EIDL to get that immediate 10,000 and then get the long-term rate of 30 years with a 3.75 rate, or go over the 1% rate for 2 years and test their risk there. But there is a bridge loan out there if everyone needs it. Absolutely. And you can find that on the
Theodis,
site.
So Theodis, this EIDL loan, that money is not free either. That money has to be paid back as well. So
Absolutely.
any nonprofit or organization that applies for that EIDL loan, up to the $10,000, even though it's discounted for a lower interest rate, those funds will have to be paid. I was told that those were forgivable, that EIDL was forgivable. See, this is good information, because this is what people need to truly understand. They are not getting any of this money for nothing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's good. There's so much information out there, Jason, that I was talking about earlier. I really do encourage people. You said the ABA and the SBA, go to those websites and listen to what they're saying, read up on what's happening, because you can go on all these different websites. Literally, I had people telling me just erroneous information. It's just like, where are you finding this? Well, it was on this website. I'm like, if it's not coming from the U.S. Treasury, the SBA, ABA, I will really be skeptical about what you're hearing, because people are telling them, sign up for this free money or come to me, I'll help you apply. No, you all can do this. Anybody can do this on their own. You don't need to pay a fee to apply for these type of loans. You just go to your bank, or you just read up on it, send the application, and there you go.
Yeah, and if people don't need the money, they should not be applying for these loans. I mean, it's a blessing for small businesses and nonprofits that are in a position where they don't have to ask for a loan, especially at this critical time. I think that that should be a message that we are also sharing with others. This money is for people that are in need, and there are so many businesses that are in desperate need of these funds. And this is an awesome CARES Act program for them during COVID-19. But I don't think we should just be going to get money just because the government has said they have $349 billion out there to give to us.
Correct. Yep. That's exactly right.
I'm telling you, Theodis, I'm learning something about this. This is awesome.
Well, I'm glad. Great questions. And trust me, this has been my life the last 2.5 weeks. So
you ought to know everything.
I have to,
You the man. You the man.
Hello.
I'm so glad that you're part of Urban Financial Services Coalition and serves as our regional vice president. Yes.
Hey, how you doing, Amanda?
Hello.
Hey, Amanda, how you doing?
Good. So, Theodis, I did have one question here. So the first $10,000 of the item is not forgiven, even for people who don't. It said even if you don't get approved, the first $10,000 was forgiven, and you're saying that is not true.
We have not heard that it is forgiven. No, not at all. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. That was in when you completed the application. It said, okay, so you immediately apply for the $10,000, and while, as you were saying, they're going to tell you the amount that you're approved for or not approved for. But even if you don't get approved, the first 10,000 that they will have already advanced you. They said that 10,000 was approved. So I'm just saying, I'm asking because you are the person that I would like to know the information from. You're saying that's erroneous information?
Yeah, I have not heard that 10,000 was forgiven. I'm actually on the website now, be looking at it.
And and I was going to say, Theos, I heard there's no longer 10,000. Last Thursday, Friday, I got an email from the SBA. It's actually going to be $1,000 for that is actually released. Even if you get denied, it's only $1,000 per employee, no longer 10,000 if you get declined.
So yeah, this thing is constantly changing. As you can see, applications are constantly changing. So they're finding out ways to give businesses funding, and I'll have to circle back on that additional $1,000 per employee. I did hear that as well, but really, again, we've been focusing on this PPP program, but they're trying to find ways to truly give businesses access to this capital because it's truly needed. Because I also heard, and I don't know how true this is, they're trying to bump that 10,000 up to 15,000 in the next coming weeks. And so that will be changing as well. So
For the EIDL that we're talking of?
correct. Yeah. So it's
okay.
correct. So there's a lot of information out there. Dr. Carr, I will definitely circle back around to find out about the forgiveness piece, if it's going to be automatically forgiven. But as of last week, I have not heard that loan will be forgiven. So I will definitely circle back around and reach out to Jason and anyone who is a part of this call and confirm that information for sure. But thank you so much. Go ahead.
And I think where I first got the information was the Essence webinar. I'm trying to remember what was his name, but the gentleman on the webinar for Essence magazine, as well as when I was actually out reading and looking at it for UFSC. So I'll look at it again, and if I see it, I will send it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, Dr. Carr. And what I will say to you, Theodis, and all the callers and listeners today is tomorrow, April 15th, our advisory president, D2 Kasuli, will be also talking about COVID and what's going on with it. And he too has led me to believe that first 10,000 we didn't have to, no one had to pay back. So I am very interested in learning where we are with that.
Yeah, I'm actually reading the Massachusetts District Office of the SBA on Monday said the cash advance will be limited to $1,000 per employee up to 10,000. And it is a grant. And it said more detailed language of the initial up to 10,000 language the administration used. So it is a grant if you did get denied for the first 10,000. With the economic disaster relief loan, it was supposed to be 10,000 immediately, but then it got switched to $1,000 per employee. And again, switched to $1,000 per employee.
Okay.
So it's not a loan; it's a grant. That's what I recall as well, Jason.
Yeah.
Good.
The first 10,000 was a grant. Yeah.
Yeah, the first. Yeah, absolutely.
So the remaining amount. So the remaining amount after that will be on that 3.75 term, but the first 10,000, yeah. So when they first rolled that out, and I'm glad you all brought that to my attention because when we rolled that out, that was not the case. And as you all are finding out, information is flowing, and they're changing this thing constantly. So stay abreast of all the SBA, ABA. And I apologize. I did not catch that first 10,000 that they have converted that over. We'll definitely make sure we disperse that to our clients. And I do know they're trying to encourage individuals to, if you've taken out the EIDL loan prior to the PPP program, that they're encouraging people to add that to their balance. So. I'm curious to find out why they're doing that. So thank you for bringing that to my attention for sure.
No problem.
I
Now,
think it's just a great conversation that we're having about it because we all are hearing different things and getting different information. But
Absolutely.
it is so true what you're saying, Theodis, in that this is steadily evolving and things are changing daily. And again, sometimes more than once a day. So it's great
Oh,
that Urban Financial Services Coalition is trying to stay on top of this so that we can provide accurate information to our members
absolutely.
and our partners as we move forward and deal with this pandemic.
Absolutely. Good. Good
So
stuff.
with that in mind, I'm sorry,
go
it's
ahead.
Dr. Carr. With that in mind, could one of
Yeah.
the you just want to make sure, I mean, if you just want to, I mean, just saying as a caveat, when you're presenting the information tomorrow and sharing it with different people for the sake of UFSC, if you can just share with them that this is information as you have it or as it has been shared rather than as if you know it is for certain, so that if, you know, because things are changing daily, so that as things are changing, no one is locking in UFSC to the information, but you're always just saying you're a resource and allowing them to go back and verify and fact check for themselves.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I encourage people. I always tell them and try to share links because that's what we need to do is self-educate ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and much as we can because specifically in our community, no one's never going to provide us anything. We're going to have to learn as much as we can and share that information. And so that's why it's so great to have individuals like yourself and obviously the organization to be able to balance these things off. So you're exactly right.
So
Absolutely.
Theodis, understanding that you are an employee of Central Bank of the Midwest, you are Central Bank of the Midwest Small Business Association's relationship manager, and specifically in these days, this last few weeks, you have been pretty much focusing on the PPP, the Payroll Protection Plan.
Absolutely. Yeah. No,
Okay, so if there are so many other options out there for individuals, whether they are business owners or just individuals or people that file in taxes and haven't filed taxes. There's just a lot of great information. So I suggest again that we jump on tomorrow and learn additional information on people that are truly focusing on all of the entities and the opportunities for us, especially in the urban core that may need to know how they can use some of these resources.
absolutely.
Also, Theodis, quick question. Since the PPP plans really only supposed to last for 2.5 months, we already heard from the IMF today, we heard from the Federal Reserve that the economic downturn could be for 18 months. This program seemed like a Band-Aid, is only a Band-Aid on a bigger problem. What
Yes.
can people do for long-term financing right now? I know right now that the credit markets are getting a little bit tighter. So what are other ideas or suggestions you would recommend for a long-term solution for folks?
Right now, it's very important to be monitoring your. I would say definitely monitoring your costs at this time. I know employees is tough keeping good employees. Just really monitoring what's going in and what's coming out. That's the best advice. Lending may not be the option long term for anyone. We just don't know what is out there. But I will say this, if you do have a loan out there with a financial institution or whoever, I would encourage you to reach out to them and restructure, not restructure meaning changing your payments and everything like that. Maybe ask for some type of deferment. Rather if it's a 3-month interest only period, there are some options for that. Banks understand what businesses are going through. So connecting with your institution and asking for that type of support is very important. watching out your costs. I would not encourage individuals to go get another loan. That may not be the option other than these SBA loans because they're the rate are cheap. You know, as we just learned, it is a grant. So you do have some options out there to kind of help you with some cash flow, but really monitoring your expenses right now, trying to stay on top of your creditors and being communicative with what's happening. Obviously, they know what's happening, but to be honest, they're not going to call you and say, hey, do you need a 3-month referral? You know, not all of them will. So you want to make sure you're communicating, saying, hey, this is my situation and how can we be partners in this? And a lot of banks will. I do know our organization, we do reach out to our customers and kind of find out how we can help. If you have an SBA loan currently, many people don't know, but the SBA now, if you have an SBA loan, you're automatically paying 6 months worth of your payments for your loan if you have a 7A note. So you don't have to make payments to the bank. Perfect. Manage that cash flow while you have that time. Stash away your cash, really kind of looking at the bottom line. And if you need to go back and find ways to kind of be more nimble and cut costs, I would encourage you to do that because you just don't know what may happen down the line. And we don't know, as Jason said, it may be 18 months until we get out of this. Hopefully not. But, you know, we just don't.
Yeah.
You want to kind of trim that fat and really kind of be mindful of what's coming in and what's going out.
Well, I would have to concur with Jason in the thought and the fact that I think it's going to be longer than 2 months that we need these funds. And you hit it on the head when you said people should be mindful of their spend right now and understand that this money isn't free. And hopefully we all have had a nest egg, realizing that in the urban core, that's not always what's happened with people of color or people that are less fortunate than maybe some of us are. They have not had the ability to put back a nest egg, and they need a lending hand right now. I think that we definitely have to be nimble and truly use some grit in some of the things that we're doing. I mean, all the girls can't go get their hair done. Well, for one, the salons are closed. They can't go to the nail salons. They can't go to the hair salons. We're going to have to start doing our own hair and doing our own nails. And then even maybe if things get better in 3 months, maybe we need to continue to do that simply because we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months or the next 12 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
this reminds me. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you please go ahead. I'm fine. Thank you.
This is one of the instances where, you know, you think, well, this is a crisis situation. So as a crisis counselor, one of the things I would say, and even in the financial, is to share with people to really take time to stand still just for a moment. As with crisis, even with borrowing and lending, but stand still, because this is one of the times, just as Theodis was saying, you don't want to just get into all this borrowing and taking loans, because at some point the loan is going to come due. So what people are wanting to understand is, what am I doing? Is this even the right business? It may have been good for a time, but such a time as this, what am I looking at doing? What is the next move? What do I want? I mean, depending on where the economy is now and where it looks like it's going to be 18 months down the road or 5 years down the road, now is a good time to look at your business plan and say, what is the next step and what could I be doing? Because remember, it's not just about finances and whether or not you have enough money to keep you afloat. What are people comfortable in doing? People are afraid right now. And when fear sets in, the fear factor, things can be a little bit different with how you handle money if the fear factor wasn't there.
And you brought up a good point. And Jason, I like when you said what your business is doing. You should really be looking at your business now, because business is going to change. Even how we're going to marketing, even how we're interacting with our customers. The bank is, I'm sure we're thinking of differently how we're going to do various things. And so I just really encourage small businesses to think about, yes, we are in a crisis, but coming out of this or while we're going through this, what can I do differently? What are some areas that I can, modify? Are there some opportunities now that I can, that's working now, can I continue to do moving forward? So I do encourage businesses to kind of think about that, while we're dealing with this, because it's not going to, hopefully it doesn't last forever. And we know that, but you definitely want to be able to come out stronger and thinking differently, because business behaviors are going to change.
Mm-hmm.
And you got me thinking when Ola was talking about beauty shops and barbers. Can they apply for this PPP program? And if so, what would they need?
They can. I know a lot of barbers are pretty much independent contractors or sole proprietors, unless they have employees, unless they're a franchise or something like that. But yeah, they can apply for these loans to qualify for their businesses. And there's still some guidance out there that the SBA needs to kind of clear up at this moment. But what they've told, how we calculate that, is basically based off of what you put on your Schedule C. And we still do the, divide that by, 12, multiply that by 2.5. And I do know some contractors may not report all of what they make, or their net income may be a lot less than what other LLCs and corporations may be able to show. So I think there's going to be some more documentation on that, some more guidance on that, because if there's ways that we can, add in depreciation, add in interest to kind of help that not or independent contractor or that sole proprietor, because really that's, a lot of small businesses may not put a lot as far as what they make or what they netted at the end of the year. So which could really affect them specifically during this program. So I think the government's going to have to find some other ways to kind of get them more capital, because, a $3,000 loan for them is not going to be enough to kind of sustain. So to answer your question, yes, barbers, beauty shops, independent contractors, they are all eligible for this program. So I would do encourage them to take advantage of it if they need that assistance.
Definitely. Any other last questions for Theodis at all about this? This is great, Theodis.
Oh, I think you've answered all of my questions tonight. Thank you very much, Theodis, for this information. Very informative. And I think that we need to continue. And Jason, thank you for having these weekly calls. I understand Walter Brown will be presenting next Tuesday at this same time. So looking forward to dialing in, zooming in on Walter next week.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's silent. He must just be having us on a hold here. But yeah, no, I appreciate definitely the opportunity. I'm actually going to be doing some research tonight about that 10,000. So yeah, I'm about to be up all night reading about that. But no, this is such an opportunity for, it's such a difficult time for businesses, and I can't even imagine what they are going through. I'm very fortunate enough to work in a banking industry who we serve our customers, and we're very excited about doing that. And so we have an obligation as financial professionals to be what Jason is doing, getting the information out, educating, and providing resources to them for those who need that. So I'm very encouraged to be able to do that. But also I just encourage business owners to hang in there, ask questions, build relationships, ask more questions, so we can help find solutions for you during this difficult time.
Jason, the only thing left that I would have to say to you is absolutely what you're doing is awesome, but we need to be reaching more people. How do we reach more people to get people understanding that this information is great information and that they need to be a part of this cause?